Hello and welcome back to My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie Fox and I am here with Frank Grillo, currently starring in Peacemaker and soon to be starring once again in Tulsa King Season 3.
Yeah,
Premieres this
up,
Sunday,
brother?
September 21st.
Yep.
Thanks for coming in. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
You like being back in New York?
I'm loving being back in New York, and I'm loving your studio here.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Do you have any must-hit spots when you come back to New York? Restaurants or anything like that?
You know, I don't really anymore. It's New York's changed a lot, and I stayed down at the Bowery Hotel, which I probably shouldn't say, but it's my home away
This will
from
come out
home.
afterwards.
Yeah, and so that's kind of my spot. You know what I mean? So anywhere around that area in the Bowery is where I go.
Cool.
Yeah.
And obviously Tulsa King coming up.
Yeah.
I know you were friends with Stallone before you were co-stars with him in this show. He called you for the role.
Yeah.
Was there any fear or anxiety like the night before your first scene with him? Like, what if we don't have on-screen chemistry? Do you think like that?
Yeah, you know, that's a great... No one's ever asked me that question, but it's exactly that. You know, I had known Sly. I'd been up to his house a few times. We watched fights and football games together with a bunch of the dudes and like Arnold and, you know,
The
Al
dudes.
Pacino. And the night... It was actually the night before, you know, I was super prepared and really loved the character and stuff. But I said to myself, what if this doesn't work? Like, what if there's two kind of machismo guys and it just kind of cancels each other out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was exactly the opposite from the minute he walked on set. It was as soon as I saw him and he walked up to me and we started to discuss what we were doing and we kind of work in a similar way, it was gone. And I think from the time we started, you could feel, and you know, guys have it too, like two guys together, like a man and a woman, there's a chemistry, there's a flow, and we had it right from the beginning. And I love doing scenes with him.
Are you generally the type of actor that, like, maybe early on in your career, did you get really nervous to go on set? Like, I know Minority Report was pretty early on in your career, like being on a Spielberg set where you're like, oh my God? Or is it just like business as usual?
Maybe too nervous because they cut me out of the whole movie. But you know, the only time I was nervous when I was really young and I was on a soap opera because there was a lot of words and it was melodrama. A lot of it didn't make sense. It's hard to connect to anything. But after I learned that, I'm never nervous. I'm always prepared. And I tell my kids this, preparation beats talent every day of the week, right?
Absolutely.
I said you could be very talented and not prepared. It doesn't work out for you.
Yeah.
So I work really hard to be as prepared as anybody else on set. And that's kind of what gets me through the day. And that's what makes me not nervous.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of anxiety, and you should have that, I think, when you perform or when you're an athlete. And that's healthy. But because I always know where I am.
Yeah. Do you think that mindset comes from your background in like wrestling and fighting and stuff? It's very much a fighter's mindset.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And you know, I tell people all the time, if you get your kids young and into martial arts or combat sports, for the discipline, purely for the discipline, it will make them better adults.
Yeah.
You know, and my kids are all, you know, started in boxing and martial arts and stuff, and a couple of them still do it. But I can see how it's affected them as they've grown up, and they're better for it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's more humbling than walking into a jiu-jitsu gym as like a white belt and a 12-year-old chokes you out.
Tell me about it. And I started in jiu-jitsu in 96 when you were in heaven. And with a guy named Hickson Gracie,
Yeah.
who was the best of the best. And, you know, I had an extensive wrestling background, but I was still... You're right, man.
Yeah.
Got on that mat, and I was like, "Wow!"
They start grabbing the gi in the right way.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I'm
even know you could use this
let
as a
me
weapon.
go, let
Yeah.
me go. And this is before you tapped. It was like, just can you stop now?
Did you get hit with any legit Sly punches on set? I know there's kind of a tradition in Rocky where every one of those Rocky movies, someone gets hit with a real punch at some point.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Sly and I come from a background of fighting, and you know, he's done all his own stunts, and he'll tell you because he's in pain at this point in his life. And there's a mutual respect, like, and I tell people this all the time. I said, look, I don't play fight. There's no play fighting, and there's no, because someone's going to get, you know, fooling ends up. That's the saying, fooling ends up. And I tell my kids too, don't play fight, because somebody's going to get hurt.
Yes.
And so we have a mutual respect for each other, and there's never any, it's like me and Cena too. It's, there's something, actually it's coming up tomorrow night. There's something really crazy. And
I know you've been hyping episode 5. I've been watching some interviews.
And it's really something. And there's such a respect for, I have for him and who he is. Oh my God, my phone does ring. Imagine that. One time.
Right before, and you said, who's going to call me?
It's my boxing coach.
Okay, maybe he was listening.
Sorry, but you'll be able to fix that. Yeah,
yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was off. Okay, now it's off. Isn't that funny?
That was
Justin
perfect.
Fortune, who trains Manny Pacquiao, is my boxing guy. I don't know why he's calling me. So there's that mutual thing with Cena too, where you're very careful and you're very diligent because you're really hitting each other.
Yeah.
So it's the respect. You know what it is? It's the guys who don't understand fighting, or they took a couple of boxing classes. At, whatever the place is, the boxercise place, and those are the guys who usually either hurt someone or get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking recently in the office about Samuel L. Jackson did a master class where he talked about inspirations for random roles and how they could come from the most random of spots. Where he said, like, A Time to Kill, the way he walks in that movie is just inspired by his dad because the character reminded him of his dad.
Right.
Do you relate to that at all? Whether it be Bill in Tulsa King or Rick Flag
100%.
in Peacemaker, do you try to base the character off little things from characters you know or people you know?
Yep, 100%. Just for example, I did a movie called Warrior a long time ago, and when I was preparing, I was living down in New Mexico with Greg Jackson, who's one of the great coaches in MMA. And I really lived in the gym with him, and I love him. I love Greg Jackson, and he waddles when he walks. He's like a little penguin, and that walk kind of started out my character for Warrior.
Wow.
And I tried to kind of use it without overdoing it, which can be a problem. And
not doing an impression.
Yeah, not doing an impression. But that walk is what the genesis of Frank Campagna, my character in Warrior.
That's awesome. I'm such a huge Warrior fan. So I also cover MMA and UFC for Barstool.
Oh, cool.
And it's just like that movie is the culmination of all of my loves, movies and MMA and all of it. Yeah.
It changed my life. That movie changed my life in many ways. But I often, credit Gavin O'Connor, who's a dear friend, with giving me a different career, and being around Nick Nolte changed me as an actor because I learned from Nick the depths you go to create a character. And before that, I'd come from soaps and I was kind of making my way and wasn't real serious. I don't think I was. And watching Nolte, who in an obscure movie that very few people saw when it came out, was nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gives a tremendous performance in that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, the hotel scenes and
Humbling.
everything like that.
I mean, there's guys that I look at that I'm like, I'm embarrassed to say I do the same thing as that. Do you know what I mean? It's still, to this day, I'm like, I don't do that. I mean, that guy's ridiculous.
I feel like your resume, you've worked with like the best of the best. Is there anyone that still like makes you a little starstruck?
Sly.
Really?
I swear to you, like, we're peers, we're friends, but I cannot erase the little boy in me who, with wide eyes, watched a movie called Rocky. And then, Rocky 2, and then Rambo, and then, it didn't, you know what I mean?
It doesn't stop.
He's had such a huge effect, not only culturally, but personally, for me, as a young guy, and then as an actor, that, I'm friends with him. We're buddies. Like, we'll talk, during the week, and, how you feeling, this, that, and the third. Regular things that dudes that are old talk about. And, I still get a little kind of, there's a thing. I don't know. I can't articulate it, but I feel blessed getting to be around this guy.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference for TV and movies when you can go into a TV show and really develop a character over multiple episodes, multiple seasons even, or like Rick Flag Sr. over animation, movies, and television?
Yeah, and that's another great question. Rick Flag is an anomaly because you don't really get to do that. I mean, look, you get to do it in these comic movies, in these superhero movies, but I get to do it in a way that, I'm not Captain America, so you don't get pigeonholed into that. Not that that's a bad thing. But I do love, I did a show called Kingdom, and speaking of MMA, and the character's name was Alvy Kalina, and I loved going through the life of this guy. You know, it was creatively the most satisfying thing I've ever done to this day. And the
Kingdom was still.
Yeah, it's, you know, and Byron Belasco, the creator, and Jonathan Tucker, who played my son on the show, we just had a conversation recently. It's like, can we get this back for a last 8 episodes at this point in our lives? And
I would love that.
So we were talking about to see how we would pull it off, and so who knows? You know, stranger things have happened.
I loved all of the cameos from MMA fighters and whatnot.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Joe Benavidez,
I
got to
love
be on the show. He's the best.
And they
it was
loved
like,
it. The fighters loved it because we tried so hard. And again, I made Byron Belasco when I signed on. I said, I didn't make him. I said, this is what you should do. I called Greg Jackson. I said, go stay with Greg. And I'm telling you, the script will change for the better.
Yeah.
And he did. And then Greg eventually became, you know, and Joe Daddy Stevenson became the coordinators of the show for us.
Yeah.
So
you treat it with the respect that you felt it deserved as someone that came from that background.
Absolutely. And you know, to quote Shakespeare, you know, Hamlet, you know, don't play to the groundlings in the front, play to the one judicious guy in the back. And that's what we tried to do. Did I just quote Shakespeare?
Yeah.
I do. And that's what we tried to do. It's like if there's one fighter in the stands, we want him to say this is a good show. And you know what? Dana White, as much as he hates Warrior
Yeah.
for multiple reasons, and he's very vocal about it, he came to the set and did his podcast at Kingdom.
Yeah.
And that's
I
when
remember with
met
Matt
Dana.
Serra.
Yeah, with Matt, who's also a dear friend. And he loved the show. And so if Dana, you kind of, you know,
Yes.
if Dana loved it, it was like, okay, we're doing something right here.
The harshest critic you could have.
Exactly
yeah.
right.
When it comes to Rick Flag Sr., the first time we saw the character was in Creature Commandos,
Yeah.
and I loved Creature Commandos.
It's great.
And I love all of James Gunn's stuff. I'm such a big nerd.
Me too.
But I didn't expect to love that show as much as I wound up loving it, because there's a lot of characters that even me, a big comic fan, didn't know.
Right.
What was James's initial pitch when it came to Creature Commandos? Like, how did he explain that show to you?
So he called me. We had spoken earlier, and he said, you know, we got to do something together. And you know, I'd seen him in the periphery of the Marvel world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'd see each other at things. And I'm going, great. I said, bro, just whatever you want me to do. I'll move cables for you. Whatever you want me to do. I'm a huge fan of James Gunn, right from the beginning. And he said, I got this thing. I'm taking over DC Studios. And I kind of didn't know what that meant, you know, because it's a little ambiguous, because it's so Warner Brothers bought DC, obviously, and so him and Peter Safran take over. And he goes, the first thing I'm doing is Creature Commandos, only because it's written. I've written it already.
Yeah.
And he said, it's animated. It's going to be on HBO. It's animated, and it's about blah, blah, blah. And Rick Flag Sr. is the leader of this group of miscreants. And he sent me all the scripts, and I read it, and I was like, this is brilliant. Mm-hmm. It's got heart. It's funny. It's filthy.
Yes,
It's sexual.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm in, man.
And it's as wacky as it is. There's an episode like the Weasel one where I'm crying at the end of it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm crying right
it's
now.
a cartoon.
Yeah.
You know
about a
what
weasel.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And that's the gift of James Gunn. I mean,
Completely.
And at the same time, he's writing Peacemaker, you know, all of the episodes, and then he's writing and directing Superman all within 2 years.
Yeah.
So
while he's running the studio.
That's right. And so we've become great friends, as he does with everyone who's in his world. Mm-hmm. And I feel an obligation to him and Peter Safran. I feel an obligation to like be the best I can be in whatever they ask me to do for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Peacemaker and Superman were also shooting like basically simultaneously. There's pictures of
and
people
Tulsa King
popping back. Oh my God, Tulsa King at the same time.
Yeah, which is why the hair. I mean, it's been out in the public, but you know, my hair wasn't white.
Yeah,
because
like
I
it
was
was in
shooting
Creature
Tulsa King
Commandos.
at the same time, and I couldn't cut it.
Yeah.
I wanted my hair to basically look like Gunn's hair.
Yeah.
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 So.
Were you shooting Peacemaker and Superman at the same time, or did
Yeah.
you shoot Superman and then shoot Peacemaker? Was it like one after another?
No, it was the same time. It was simultaneous.
Wow.
Which is why he didn't direct all of the Peacemakers.
Yeah.
He had to shoot Superman simultaneously, and then he did. You'll see. You guys press hasn't gotten episodes 6 and 8. They're the best.
I know, it's the secrecy involved in them. It has me so
You got to
intrigued.
see where this goes. I mean, it's next level. And
Yeah.
John Cena completely knocks it out of the park.
I believe it.
He is I mean, I know that there was just this thing I was reading about the best actors, wrestlers turned actors.
Yeah.
I think and I love Batista. He's great. But I think John Cena, the work he's done is, because he's done it all. That you go from comedy to drama. It's slapsticky and physical, and not an easy thing to pull off. And he does it in spades, man.
He's one of those guys, I think. We were talking about it recently with Kenjack, the guy you were just in the interview with previously. He really elevates every project he's in. Even if I don't love the project, John Cena is a highlight in it.
And I'll tell you, I'll go one step further. He elevates every person that he's around. I mean, I know he's like the largest contributor to Make-A-Wish Foundation,
Yes.
more than any other 5 people combined, I think. And, he's the type of guy who, I go in my trailer between takes and I drool. I'm waiting to go on and do the next thing, right? He's in there with a piano, learning to play piano while learning Mandarin.
I was going to say, he speaks Mandarin.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like, I hate him.
Yeah. I think they used to show, like, WWE trainees his schedule to basically be like, this is what you're signing up for. This is the
Right.
peak of the business, and you're getting 4 hours of sleep a night. So you
Right.
better be okay with
It's
that.
interesting. I got to tell you, I never watched. I wrestled when I was young, right? Wrestling. I never watched WWE because it was entertainment, right? I never did. Never. I know who Hulk Hogan was because he crossed over into entertainment in this business. But I've heard the name James, and I said, jokingly, I didn't know who John Cena was. He's got a fan base out there.
Yeah.
I got
The C
killed.
Nation, they call it.
I got killed by who the hell does Frank Grillo think? Who's he? Who's Frank Grillo? And I'm like, I knew. It's not that I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how big. And it was my son, and I've said this before in past interviews. I said, my young son, Rio, said, you're an idiot. He's not just a wrestler. He's the biggest wrestler,
Yeah.
in any event. And I learned quickly about John Cena. And I've seen John Cena. I saw him do a movie called The Wall with Aaron Taylor Johnson. And I remember thinking, he's a natural. Like, he's really, really nuanced. And so I know John Cena. I've known John Cena.
Everyone chill out.
He's amazing. He's better than me. And I'm happy to tell you he's great in Peacemaker Season 2.
And is that set as much fun as it seems like it is from the outside? Are you guys constantly laughing and joking on that set?
It's actually more fun.
Really?
Gunn creates this set. It's an amazing set. The only other set I've ever been on that's as fun is I work with a director named Joe Carnahan a lot, and Joe's equally crazy and fun. But James is so prepared, and he understands exactly what he wants. I didn't change a word of anything. I didn't have to, and but it's like a bunch of goofballs getting together, all a bunch of nerds, and just having a good time and getting paid.
And then sometimes filming incredibly serious scenes as
Yeah.
well, where there's the scene where you're walking with Economos.
Yep.
And I saw an interview where you said his position is secondary to his personal agenda. And it's very clear in this scene where Economos is kind of giving him the rundown of Argus and everything. And you're like, okay,
Right.
I want the files though, on my son.
Yeah, we're not playing.
And then that scene where it's intercut with the footage from Suicide Squad and everything. What was it like filming that? Because the editing is obviously a big part of that scene as well.
Right.
Like,
That's a great question. Yeah.
what was that like on set?
Yeah, it's interesting because Gunn, they had told me that's, and we could see it in the script that they're going back and forth, but I don't see the visuals of it, right? But for me, having 3 sons, it's not hard for me to kind of use my imagination, and God forbid something like that had ever happened. So that's kind of like my go-to. And so and knowing Joel and kind of how he was killed in Suicide Squad and stuff, it was kind of on the page for me. It wasn't that difficult, but when I saw it, it was far more impactful for me to see it.
Oh, yeah.
And to understand it, and they really got the essence of who this guy was. And I think you have to have, I'm kind of deemed the bad guy in the show, and I'm like, I'm not the bad guy. I'm a guy whose son was murdered, and I think everybody else in my position would probably feel somewhere in the realm of I want to get this guy.
Yes,
right.
And that's classic James Gunn writing
Right.
these like very complex, layered characters. Even when the bad guy has a point,
That's
from
right.
his angle, you
That's
can
right.
kind of see where he's coming from.
That's right. And I think there's got to be closure to this storyline. I think something needs to happen so that Flag could either go away or move on and be, successful in this world. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what kind of you see happen as the show progresses.
Absolutely. Even seeing it escalate with the conversation with Harcourt we saw last week at the end of that episode. Like, as the viewer, you're rooting for Peacemaker because he's the guy. But you see that conversation, you're like, oh my God, he's turning Harcourt on Peacemaker now.
And
it's like
there was great editing in that scene, and I don't know if anybody caught it. I did because I understood what I was seeing. Is that when she gets up to start her rant, I look at her with a look of I got her.
Yeah.
And there's a small look. And it's like, I got her. I wound her up. And she's between a rock and a rock.
at her most desperate point.
At her most desperate point. And I kind of look at her and they cut away. And I'm like, that's good editing. That was great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great directing as well. I know we
Yeah.
haven't seen like the James Gunn episodes at the end, but all of the directors that have worked on this
All
season, I
great.
feel like they're
All
crushing
great.
it.
But Gunn will tell you his is the best.
And I know that one of your sons is particularly really into comics. I
Yeah.
saw you said he was really into Marvel. Now he's getting really into DC.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he's given you like an even greater appreciation for the genre?
Oh my God! So a quick story: we lost the house in the Palisades fire recently, and my
sorry.
son had been collecting comics for about 7 years, and was way into Marvel and Spider-Man specifically, and that was kind of his thing. And so I'm not a Spider-Man guy, so I just bought them for him.
Yeah.
He lost everything, and so I called Gunn and Peter Safran. They sent a bunch of DC stuff. I called Marvel, and they sent a bunch of Marvel stuff. My next door neighbor, Tamara, we were having a conversation, and I said she said to me, she's like a 35-year-old woman. She lives next door to me. She goes, bring Rio into my house. I collected comics my whole life. And we went in. She had a room about this size, and she had about 50 comic book boxes with first run everything.
Oh, wow. A legit collector.
And I was like, she's going to give him some comics. And she said, take them all.
the whole collection?
She gave my son, this is the beauty of human beings. She gave my son the entire comic book collection for nothing.
Oh, my God.
Including posters.
Yeah.
And so it between all of that, it was the jump off for him to get to expand his knowledge of it. And he's a voracious reader of these things. And he understands the genesis of characters and the worlds.
Yeah.
Him and Gunn, we went to Comic-Con. Him and Gunn sat down. We had dinner afterwards. They were having a deep conversation.
Like speaking a different language.
And I was like the 12-year-old boy going, it was hysterical. My point is, now, since the fire, my son and I go to the comic book stores in L.A. every Tuesday and Wednesday is New Comic Book Day.
Yep, today's
And
a big one, yeah.
He's into Night Moon now and all kinds of he's expanded his world. We have conversations now where he'll come to me and he'll make suggestions. And I go, and he'll tell me about character.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me about my character.
Wow. So he's digging back into the Rick Flag
brother,
Senior stuff.
Or
Yeah.
he'll come in and say, Dad, did you notice Crossbones has been in the last 3 episodes of these comic books? And I'm like, I did not. Maybe Crossbones is coming back somehow. And so my answer, the short answer here is yes.
Yeah.
And shout out to my son Rio Grillo, who's my oldest son is a filmmaker, starting out. And
You were in one of his movies, right?
yeah,
Resurrection of
and-
Charles Manson?
Resurrection of Charles Manson. You're welcome, pal. But my youngest guy is helping my son with ideas, and it's just fascinating to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think he'll end up in this world.
I could relate. I lost my comic book collection in Hurricane Sandy. I got so much water in my basement that I lost it. And then that kind of kicked off where I got real deep into it, whereas my mom taking me to comic stores.
Same thing.
Exact
And,
same thing,
it's really our relationship, because, when you have 3 kids, you kind of keep them, you do things together all the time. But our relationship has flourished.
That's your thing,
because
yeah.
we have a thing. And
Yeah.
he'll come in my room at night, sometimes for an hour, and we'll sit down and I'm amazed at how articulate he is.
That's awesome.
And it's made him a voracious reader.
Yeah.
A voracious reader. it's improved his school grades.
Of course, people talk about comic books like, oh, you're going to read the picture books. You don't realize this is legit writing.
Legit literature.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely,
amazing.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I know you can't talk about the future DC-wise, but just generally as Frank Grillo, not as Rick Flag Sr., are you excited for Man of Tomorrow being more of a Lex-focused movie? I thought Nicholas Holt's Lex was one of the best parts of Superman.
Oh, man, he's kind of the heart, the anchor of the movie. He really is.
So good.
Nicholas Holt, it can do no wrong. I mean, the guy can do anything. He's a brilliant actor, and he's really coming into his own now. He's he's a real man now.
Another guy who's gone Marvel and DC as well.
That's right, and he's just an amazing actor. I'm excited about that movie, and hopefully
we see Rick Flag Sr. Yeah, listen, you'll get another phone call if we talk any further about that.
I won't say
the phone
anything.
will be ringing.
I can't say anything now, but we'll see.
Yeah. And we got to talk a little bit of fighting because I'm such a big fighting fan. Have you gotten anyone in Hollywood into fighting, whether it be as a fan or actually like going to classes and training?
Oh, lots of people. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of people who have come to my gym and started out that way, and when we did Kingdom, those boys did nothing. They didn't have any fight background at all, which was concerning.
Of course, you want it to look real.
And they came to my boxing gym, and then it became their boxing gym, and the martial arts that they had started with. They're still Jonathan Tucker is still in great shape and still is part of the fight community. Over the course of 20 years, there's been a lot of people who've come through, and look, I'm like an evangelist when it comes to it, talking about fighting and what it's done for me, and how it makes you a better man and all that stuff. So I love it. It's my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be able to name a personal Mount Rushmore of mixed martial arts? 4 names that you believe should be on that Mount Rushmore?
George St. Pierre.
Yep.
I would say, boy, this is a great question. George St. Pierre for sure. I'd like to put John Jones up there, but
you're preaching to the choir. That's one guy that I'm like, on mine, I don't think I could put him on there.
I know.
He's the greatest of all time,
I know,
but there's so many other
elements. Do
yes.
you know what I mean? Which is why he's not fighting at the White House.
Exactly.
Right? I put Khabib up there, I think.
I think that's fair.
I think I'd put Khabib up there. God, man, this is a tough one, brother. This is a tough one. I got to tell you, maybe Randy Couture.
Okay, yeah, old school guy.
Maybe, yeah, because there's an old school element to Randy that was kind of, he's done it all.
Kind of defined that era for sure.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, my last one, another guy who did a lot for the sport, but the way he lives is kind of questionable, is Conor McGregor. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. You got to have him on there.
Yeah, he'd be up there if he wasn't
for what he did for the sport.
Yeah. He elevated the sport. He made the sport. I maybe because I love him so much and I think he was underrated. I'm going to throw Matt Serra up there.
Oh, Matt Serra's the best. He's such a good friend of the show.
Yeah.
I've gone and done his show in Long
I've done
Island
it a few times.
He's just another guy who's a huge nerd. He'll talk comic books with you for 2 hours,
forever.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, is one of the great BJJ guys.
Yes,
and just
the Kimura Savage, he calls himself.
Yeah, man. I mean, he was amazing, and he some great upsets, and so those would be my 4 today.
And then I just got to ask, I know you're a self-proclaimed tough critic. I saw an interview, I think it might have been with Matt Serra, where you were like, yeah, I hate everything. You got to be real good for me to like it.
Right.
Do you have any favorites from this year specifically, whether it be movies or TV, that you've been watching and really enjoying?
Oh, yeah. Sinners.
Oh, yes.
Hands down, to me, Sinners was an amazing film. And everybody in it's amazing. It was made beautifully. It's a great story. I've watched it several times. I absolutely loved Sinners.
I do, too. Did you see Weapons?
I saw Weapons. I'm friends with Brolin.
I thought that was great as well, yeah.
I'm friends with Brolin, and he's Brolin, so he's always great. That was phenomenal. But to me, right now, Sinners is the film. And I have to tell you, I was blown away by Severance.
Yes.
As a piece of art. I just thought what Ben Stiller was able to do was phenomenal.
And the way
And
that they
Adam
were able to
Scott.
slow burn it up
Yep.
to the finale, and
Yep.
then everything folds into place. And that was one of my favorite finales I've seen in forever.
I know, it was amazing. The other TV show that I watched in full, because he's a buddy of mine, was Presumed Innocent.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought Gyllenhaal just killed it.
He did.
And knocked it out of the park. And the show was amazing. I know they're going to do another season. And my third would be Colin Farrell in Penguin.
Oh, yes.
So 3 TV shows. I'm not really impressed with the movies I saw this year. So,
like I said, self-proclaimed tough critic. Yeah.
But those would be the 3. Those are just that they're top of the food chain.
Yeah, I was so happy to see the Penguin clean up at the Emmys because I felt like that was very deserved. Sometimes comic book programs and movies don't get the credit they deserve, I think, because of the genre.
Yeah.
But seeing like Kristen Milioti win,
That's
she
amazing.
absolutely deserved that for Sophia Falcone and everything.
And by the way, I'm going to throw in Stephen Graham and Stephen Graham's show too, because that also
Adolescence, right?
Yeah, there was so much great television.
Yeah.
So much. And I think that's where a lot of great talent is migrating towards. Because like you said, you get an opportunity to live with a character for a bit longer and tell the story in a better way. And, more than 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And you just get, Stephen, all these people are just, I'm humbled by how amazing they are.
Well, I'm humbled by you coming in, giving me
thanks,
the time.
brother.
I really appreciate it. I've been such a big fan for such a long time.
appreciate that.
I really appreciate it. Everyone, Tulsa King, Season 3 out September 21st, and Peacemaker, of course, every Thursday on HBO Max. We're all waiting for those final 3 episodes.
Yeah.